I think we completed. I think we completed functions and those everything's. So today I will start the class about the arrays, and we will discuss about the arrays. And in the JSP, I think we completed how to insert the data into the database. But today, let me. I think I need to explain about the installations, but we'll see what goes with the JSP, but I will show you how to retrieve the data first, and then we'll see if the time permits. I will show you the installations of other SQL also. Okay, so till then, to join your friends, if you have any doubts regarding anything till now, okay, if you have any doubts from the first onwards today, you can ask me. You can unmute yourself and you can ask me, or you can ping me in the chat box. Okay, so we will wait for 2 to 3 minutes and we'll start the class. Okay, guys, let's start the class. Okay, so I think nobody will join the class now. Let me share my screen. Okay, is my screen visible, right? So now in this classes we discuss about. So today I will discuss about the arrays. So before going into the arrays, let me recap the previous classes. Like we discussed about the core concepts in the today's classes. So in the previous class we discussed about the functions and methods. So this is about the JSP, right? Let me close this and open my basic theory package. So here we discuss about method overloading and all these things, right? So this is a method. So we discuss about the functions. So functions also known as methods. So a method is a block of a code. Okay, a method where we discuss. This is more fine. Yeah, this is a method, right? So function, and we call it as a method. So a method is a block of a code that performs a specific task. A function is a block of a code that performs a specific task when you called it. Okay, so it helps in the code reusability and modularity. So it can be a static and non-static methods. Okay, I already explained you what is a static method and what is a non-static method. So non-static methods are by using. So non-statics are belongs to the objects, and the static methods are belongs to the classes. So without creation of the class objects also, we can call the static methods. But to call the non-static methods, we have to create the object of that class. Okay, so I think I explained on here, I think. So this is a static method. So you can call the static method by the class name. See here, by using the class name, I call the display message. But this is a non-static method. So here I need to create the object of the class, and by using that object of the class, I have to call that method. So this is a difference between static and non-static. So this is also important. And the methods can be overloaded. So the methods can be overloaded means I have the same name, okay, but the different parameters, okay, but I have the different parameters and the number of parameter. See, I have the same method name for all the three, but the data type is different and the parameters are the different. Okay, same name and different parameters. So that's a method overloading in the same class. Okay, so now we'll go into the arrays. So what are the arrays? What are the arrays? So arrays R is nothing but it's a collection of the elements. So it collects the elements of the same data type stored in a contiguous memory location, which means side by side locations. Okay, so in that each element is identified by its index. So for that we will give an index for that in the array. So in a group of marks of 5 students, all are integers, so we can store them in a integer array. Okay, in the integer array. So that's a basic example. So array is a collection of the elements of the same data type. Okay, same data type stored in a contiguous memory location. Okay, so array is a collection of the same data type. This is the same. Okay, so same data type stored in a continuous memory location, which means a side by side. Okay, basically it's a side by side. It's a data structure is used to store the collection of the data. Okay, so here the basic example is like a group of marks of 5 students. I want to store the 5 students marks, so and the same data types, so we can store them in the array. Now basically to store one element, I am taking integer a equals to 5. Okay, so this is where we are storing one value in an integer in the a variable. But when I want to store the collection of elements of same data type, i want to store I want to store number of data in one element, so a collection of elements of the same data type. So here we use the arrays. Okay, so basically why we use the arrays is to store the multiple values of the same data type using the single variable. Here the single variable I'm storing only single value, right? So but when I want to, so why, let me give why we use, okay, why we use the arrays, okay, to store multiple values of the same using a single variable. Okay, using a single variable. So this is the array. So and I said right. So when you want to identify each element in that array, when you want to find out each element in the array, we will access it by index numbers, right? So it will be identified in each element with an index. So easy access. So easy access and manipulation. We can manipulate easily using the index numbers. Okay, using the index numbers. First one is why we use, second one, and it's an easy access and the easy manipulation by using the index numbers. And also it is also used for the loops and the data processing. So in the loops, when we want to iterate a number of collections, when you want to iterate through the arrays, it is useful in the loops. Okay, useful for the loops and the data processing and the data processing. And the 4 point view, and we can also reduce the code repetitions. while initializations, right? So all these things, reduce code repetition. Okay, code repetition. And what is the syntax actually to write to initialize an syntax, initialize an array? So it's a simple syntax, but here listen carefully. First we need to give the data type. Okay, first we need to give the data type and a square brackets to, okay, to declare it as an array. Okay, I am taking an imagine I am taking an integer data type. So here I need to give integer and array. So square brackets indicates array, and here you can give the array name. Okay, whatever the array name you want to initialize, you can give the array name, or you can also give it like this. Okay, you can also give the data type first, data type, and you can also give the array name with the array index. Okay, you can also declare in the both the ways. Okay, you can declare in the both the ways. Okay, so let me give one example here. Let me create one example, right? Or this is an a creation, and this is a basic syntax. Okay, syntax of an array. So now let me create, I want to create an integer or something data type, and here let me give the variable name here. So I want to store it in the one variable, right? So here I am giving one variable name, and here new and the data type. Okay, so whatever the data type you are selecting, that data type, and here you need to initialize the size to store the array. Here you need to give the size to store the array. So when you want to store the roll numbers, okay, when you want to store the roll numbers, what is the data type? Integer data type. Okay, when you want to store the integer data type, so integer array. So here I'm giving the variable name as a roll. Okay, and I want to store the, okay, 20 when I want to store the 20 number of roll numbers. Okay, 20 roll numbers. Here what I will do, integer data type, and here I will give the size as a 21, because the higher upper value will store only the 20. Okay, so when you want to store the values, you need to give the size of that value. Okay, you need to give the size of that value. Or if you want to directly store the numbers, okay, like integer roll number, integer roll number equals to, in the flower brackets you can directly give like this. Okay, 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5 comma 6 comma 7. Okay, in this way also you can, okay, in this way also you can create an array. You can create an array. Now what about the indexing? So here I have the values like 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5 comma 6 comma 7, right? So here what will be the index? The index will be started from, for the 1 it will be 0, okay, for the 2 it will be 1, for the 3 it will be 2. So here the index will be start from the 0th index. So the 0th index, it will be started from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so to store the 7 numbers, it will take the 6 indexes. Okay, it will take the 6 indexes. So when I want to store the 20 numbers, I use only 21. Here the higher upper boundary, so it will not count the upper boundary, so it will give till the 20. Okay, so now let me create an array to give the data size. Okay, so this will create an integer array with the 5 elements. Okay, if you have given here 6, it will create by 5 elements. If you have given 21, it will create an 20 elements. So index will be started from 0th to 20. Okay, 0th to 20. Now let me do it in the program. Okay, so what I will do, let me create one new package here. Package as arrays examples. Okay, so finish. Here we create one class, array example, and I'm selecting static void main. Okay, I'm selecting public static void main. Now I want to store. Okay, now I want to store the, imagine I want to store the marks. Okay, I got some marks in my 10th. Okay, I want to store that marks in one variable as a marks. Okay, as a one variable as. So what I want to do here, first I need to create. Okay, first I need to create an array, right? First I need to create an array. So imagine, let me create an. First I have to create an array. So imagine I have 6 subjects or 7 subjects. Okay, let's imagine I have 5 subjects. Okay, let me store the 5 subjects array. Now I am creating integer array because I have to store the marks. Okay, if you want to store the double values, you need to give the double. Okay, so here let me store the marks equals to new. So this is an array, new integer data type of 5. I have a 5 subjects. Let me create with the 5. Okay, so it will declaration and clear creation. Okay, I declare integer data type of marks array, and I created integer new int of 5. Okay, I give the size of. So here I said, right, when you create an array, it will create an indexes of a 5. It will allocate the 5 memory locations. Okay, so for that each location you will get by the indexes. Okay, now when I want to place an one mark at a time, okay, at a time in the marks array. So what I need to do here, at marks of 0. Okay, marks of 0. 0, it means it indicating the index of that array. So at marks of 0 and store in the some value. Okay, this is an integer value. This is an integer value. At marks of 0, it will create and value at a 0th index. Okay, see, imagine here, this is my 5 locations. Okay, at the 0th index, now it will store the 80 value. Okay, imagine at the 0th index I'm storing in the array 80 marks. Okay, and at the first index I want to store, the 90. Okay, at first index I want to store the 90. Now what will happen, at the first index it will store the 90. At first index it will store the 90. So just like this, let me add all the 5. Okay, now what happened, just 2, 3, 4 and 5. But in the 5 size of array, what is the index? It is starting from the 0, so the index will be the 4. Okay, but what I'm adding at the marks of 5, which is not there. Okay, so what the output will be, we will see. Okay, what is the error, we will see it here. Now let me save it and run this as Java application and see what it's saying. It giving me the error. Okay, see, index 5 out of bound. Okay, for the length of 5. Okay, it's basically saying when you want to access the 5th index of that array, it is out of length for 5. Okay, see here it's giving the array index out of bound exceptions, which means you didn't have a 5th index in your array, but you are trying to access that index. Okay, so then it will give you the error. But I will remove this and let me do one thing. Let me access each. Okay, so what I will do here, I will use one for loop. Okay, I will use one for loop and initialize a value integer I equal to 0 and I less than marks dot length. So till the length of array, will iterate it and increment the each value, and I will print that each marks here. System dot out dot print ln of marks. Okay, print ln of marks si. So here marks for at the 0th index. Okay, at 0th index mark 0. Now what marks at 0? We need to get it by, we need to retrieve it by the same marks of I. Okay, marks of I. So here here the marks of 0, okay, 0, here it will retrieve marks of 0. So at marks of 0, okay, so we will see. So this is, and we are inserting the value into the arrays. Okay, we can do it like this, or we can, as you can directly give the flower brackets, okay, without initializing to it. You can give directly the values. Also you can initialize the size of that array, and you can give the values and values by using that index values. Okay, so here till the index of that length, okay, till the length of array, it will iterate and it will print it out whatever the value is stored in that array. Let me save this and print it. Java application. See, it's printing at each index what is the value. At mark 0 it is 80, at 1 it is 90, at 2 it is 80, 3 90, and 40. Okay, so if you want to print it out, so via system dot out dot print ln of marks. Okay, so let's see once again. So it's giving basically the object. So this is an object of that marks. Okay, so remove this, and this is the values. Okay, so this is how we have to, we have to create the array, and we can insert the values. Okay, initializing the values to that array, and then we are accessing the elements. Here what we are doing, here we are accessing the elements, right? So here we are doing, which means we are retrieving the elements put in the array. Here what we are doing, here we are initializing the values. Okay, initialization. Imagine this is initialization. So here we are initializing the all the values to that array. Okay, so what important properties of these arrays are? So index are start with 0. So you need to remember that indexes starts from 0 only. Okay, this is the first and foremost important thing in the arrays. The indexes of the array will start from the 0. So when you want to know the length of that array, you can access by the length method. Okay, length is accessed whatever the array is there, the array name and dot length. Okay, when you want to know the length of that array, you can use the array dot length. Okay, so then you can get to know the length of that particular array, and you can store only the same data type in this data, in this marks array. When you are trying to access like this, okay, the 4, I want to store the data type of string. Okay, imagine this is a data type of a string, but see what it's showing in the error, because see mismatch cannot convert from the string to the int. Okay, it's saying we cannot convert the string into the int. Okay, so which means the data type of the array which you are declaring. So this is a declaring, right? Declaration of an array. So here when you declare the data type integer, it will store only that integer data types. Means it can store only the same data type values, and size is fixed. Here if you have given 5, okay, the size is fixed. Once created, it will be created with that size only. These are all the important points. Let me write it out in the notebook. Okay, important. Okay, so first one, what I said, index starts from 0, index 0, and the length can be accessed. Length is accessed by array name dot length. Okay, array name dot length, and can store only same data type. Okay, same data type values can be stored in an array, and the size is also fixed. Size is fixed once created. If you created with the size 5, then it cannot be changed. So the size will be fixed, and elements are stored in the continuous memory locations, which means side by side. Okay, once you have created an array, the memory allocates will be side by side. So these are the important 5 points in the array. Okay, so these are the important 5 points in the array. So what is an array? So array is a collection of elements of the same data type stored in the continuous memory locations, contiguous memory locations or continuous memory location. Okay, continuous memory locations. Though, so why we use the arrays? To store the multiple values of the same type using only single value or single variable. Okay, and it is easy to access and manipulate using the index numbers. So the arrays are identified. Okay, each element in that array is identified by an index, so it is easy to access and manipulate by using that index numbers. Okay, by using that is index numbers, and these are useful for the loops and the data processing, and this also reduce the code repetition. And this is in a syntax: data type and array name, data type or array name. So this is a data type, variable name, and this is a declaration. Here if you have given the size, so that is a fixed, so once we created it will not be changed. So these are the important points. Index will be start from the 0, and the length is accessed by dot length, and it can store only the same data type, and the size is a fixed. So once you create it, the size will be not changed. The elements are stored in the continuous memory locations. Continuous memory locations. And there are different types of arrays in the Java. Okay, so there are different types. Here we have a different types. So in Java, arrays are the objects basically. Okay, so that store multiple values of a same data type in continuous memory locations. So these can be classified based on the dimensions. Okay, arrays are based on their dimensions. We can be classified into three types. Okay, so that is like how many indexes are used to identify an element. So there are three main types of an arrays in the Java. So one is single dimensional single dimensional array single dimensional array. So we call it as a 1D array, single dimensional array. And second one, we have a two dimensional array. So here the indexes will be different. So based on the indexes, okay, how many indexes are used to identify and a single element, the classifieds are divided. Okay, so they can be classified into different types based on the element identifying indexes, how many indexes are used. Okay, 2D array, we can call it as a 2D array. And the third one, we have a multi-dimensional array. Multi-dimensional array. So here basically it is in a 3D, it's in a 3D and beyond. Okay, 3D and beyond. So these are the three types we have. So they are classified basically on like when you want to identify an element on how many indexes. Okay, so in single dimension you have only single indexes, but in the two dimension you have a two like a rows and the columns. We have different rows and columns, so it will be divided. So it will be divided based on this indexes itself. So this is single dimensional array, two dimensional array, and multi-dimensional array. Okay, so what about, we'll go with the each one of this. Okay, so now first we discuss about the single dimensional array. Single dimensional array. So in the definition, the single dimensional array is a linear list of elements, all of the same data type. So it can be thought of a row of a boxes, okay, each with the index number starting from the 0. So whatever we have done now, okay, previous example, that is an example of a single dimensional array. Single dimensional array. So it will be linear list of the elements. Okay, linear list of the elements. It has only in the rows on the all the same data types. So it's same as that. Okay, single a single dimensional array is a linear, we can call it as a linear list of elements when it okay, of the same data type, same data type. Okay, and it index start from the 0. Okay, it can be like a row of the boxes. Okay, each with an index numbers starting with a 0. Okay, as I already given you, the syntax is same. Okay, data type or array name, and here you need to give the array name and the new data type, and here you need to give the size. Okay, here you need to give the size. So I said right here you can create in the both the ways, integer. So this is data type array name and data type array name. So the both are valid. Okay, but syntax is preferred as it cleared. Okay, so the first syntax, this is the second syntax I used, right? So just like this you can use the first syntax also. So here what we will do, here we'll give the array here. Okay, so here we give the array name. Okay, this is also, this is a preferred one. Mostly we use this preferred one first syntax. Okay, is it's clear the separates the type and the variable name. Okay, and I also given the example here for that. Okay, the same example, imagine the same example, I created one array. Okay, it's a single dimension, which means only the row index from start from 0 and the 1 2 3. Okay, so at 0 it will store the 80 value, at 1 it store the 90 value same. Okay, each element is stored in the continuous memory. Okay, which allows fast access using the index. So when you want to access the each element, okay, when you want to access only third element, how can access, we can access directly giving the index number. Okay, you can access directly giving the index number. Like see here, when I want to access the third element in array, how can I access marks? Right, I will directly give the index value. So now what it will give? It will give me the whatever the index, whatever the value is stored at the third, it will give the value directly. Okay, so which means the faster access by using the indexes. Okay, so here the key elements are like by using the indexes we can access, and elements are stored sequentially in the memory, which means the continuous locations, and these are used for commonly like when you want to store the marks or the salaries, or when you want to store the ages. Okay, we use this simple single dimensional array, and it also used for the loop transfers for process all the elements. When you want to process the elements, okay, we'll use this. Okay, in the same real time we use when you want to store the student marks. Okay, so this is a single dimensional array. Okay, so I think it's enough for the today's. Okay, in the tomorrow we will discuss about the two dimensions and the dimensional array, dimensional and three dimensional array. If not, I will. Okay, today let me explain about the two dimensional array also, and tomorrow class we will discuss about the multi-dimensional. We will do some problems on the two dimensional and multi-dimensional. Then we will go to the next topic. Okay, so here the two-dimensional array. We will discuss about now two-dimensional array. So here the two-dimensional array is nothing but a 2D array will represent the data. Okay, whatever the data we are storing in the 2D array, it will be stored in the rows and the columns format. Okay, like in the Excel, right? In the Excel we have the rows and the columns. In the Excel, in the rows it will declare it the 1 2 3, in the columns it will declare with the A B C D, right? So just like that, the 2D array, it will represent, it will store the data in the rows and the columns format. So here it will use two-dimensional array. Okay, we can call it as a 2D array, right? A 2D array represents data in a rows and a columns. Okay, in a rows and the columns. In a rows, columns. So same like an Excel, the 2D dimension is represent the data in the rows and the columns. Okay, so each element is identified by using two indexes. Okay, in the previous single dimension we have only single indexes like 0, it will start from 0 1 2 3, but here here we are storing the data in the rows and columns. Okay, here we are storing with the rows and columns. So here for each row it have each index, for each column it has each index. So now how many index we are using here? For each element is identified using the two index. Okay, two indexes. So one for row. Okay, one for row position, so in which row position it is, and one for column position, in which column position it is. So by this we can access an element. Okay, as I said earlier, right? So these classifications, the types of the arrays are classified based on the indexes to find an element. So one dimensions, here we use only single index, so we call it as single dimensional. In the 2D array, when you want to find out, when you want to access an element, okay, we can use it by the two indexes, one for row and one for the column position. Okay, so how we can declare a two-dimensional array? So in the single dimensional array, we will declare it like data type, array name, and the new data type. Okay, so that is a single dimensional array syntax. But what about the two-dimensional syntax? Okay, the two-dimensional syntax is same as the single dimensional syntax, but here we use the rows and columns. Okay, here we use the rows and columns. So for that we use a data type and an array symbol, okay, which means square brackets, and again the array, okay, which indicates rows and the columns, okay, which indicates rows and the columns, and give the array name here, array name, and the new keyword. And here you need to give the data type, here you need to give the data type, and here you need to give, okay, here you need to give the rows, okay, how many rows you need and how many columns you need, how many columns you need. Okay, so this is a declaration of a 2D array. This is a declaration of a 2D array. When you want to declare a 2D array, you need to declare it by data type, indicates rows and the columns, and the new keyword data type of the array, and you need to indicate the rows and the columns, how many rows you need and how many columns you need. Okay, so let me create one matrix. So you know matrix, right? So one, two, okay, and this is a matrix. We call this as a matrix, right? So here how many rows it has? It has a two rows, it has a two rows and the three columns. So basically it's a one column, two column, three column, right? So here we have the three columns and the two rows. What if we create it like this? So basically it is in a three rows and the three columns. Okay, let me create this row by using the two-dimensional array. Go to the go here. Let me create one class. Two-dimensional array. Okay, select the public static void main and finish. Okay, now here what we need to do, we need to declare, okay, we need to declare the two-dimensional, right, 2D array. Okay, first what we need to do, first we need to give the data type. So let me take the data type as an integer, okay, integer, rows, columns, and give the name as a matrix. We take the variable name as a matrix. Now by using the new keyword and the data type, here I need to give the size. Okay, size in the sense rows. How many rows you need? Let me create the three rows and the three columns. Okay, I declared one array. I declared one 2D array which consists of three rows and the three columns. Three rows and the three columns. Now imagine I have an array like this. Okay, imagine, let me imagine like this. So here I want to create an array like this: 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I want to create an array like this. Sorry, I want to create this. Now what I said, when you want to access an element, you want to access one element. Now I need to access one element. How can I access? I can access with the two indexes, which means one the row element and one the column element. So which is here now, I said the indexes will be start from 0, right? So here it is at the 0th row and it is a 0th column. Okay, this is of the 0th column, right? This single 135 at the 0th column. So when you want to access a first element, okay, when you want to access a first element, how we can access? We can simply access by the array name, and here you need to declare the row index, which means 0th index of the row, and the column index, which means 0. Okay, so basically it is in a 0th and 0th column. So here what I need to do, I want to store the that element, which means 1. Okay, now here come to the second one. So now here, now I want to store the second. Okay, when I want to access the second place, which means at the 0th row at the first column, at the 0th row at the first column, which means, let me write it here in this beside itself. Okay, for better understanding, matrix at the 0th index, which means this is at the 0th row and the first column. This is the first column, right? 2 4 6. This is a column, which means first 135 at the 0, 2 5 2 4 6 at the first, and 3 5 7 at the second. Okay, now here at the 0th row at the first column, I need to save the number as 2. Okay, I want to put the number at the 2. Okay, so now when number 3, where it is at the 0th row second column, which means matrix of 0 and matrix at the second. Okay, so now what is the number I want to store? 3. Okay, are you done? Right, we are done with the first row. The first row is indicates 0. Okay, 0 and the 0. Here what about the column? At the first column, at the 0th column we are giving, okay, 0th row 0th column 1, 0th row first column 2, 0th row second column we are giving the 3. Okay, so just same like this. Okay, let me write it out. Why should I copy? Now we will go to the second row, which means first. Okay, basically here it indicates 0. Okay, it indicates 0th index. Here it indicates first row. Here it indicates second row. Okay, these are the indexes. Okay, now 0th row we are completed. Now go to the first row. Okay, now first row 0th column. So this is basically first row and the 0th column, right? So here matrix of first row. So this is basically first row element and the 0th column element. So here I want to store the value as 3. Okay, so just like that, matrix of first and the first column. Okay, so the fourth one is these are the first column and the first row and the first column. Okay, so now here I want to store the value as a 4. Okay, so this is example I want, this is the output I want, so I just given that output to you to understand how the matrix is building. Okay, so matrix of first row and the second column. So in the second column I want to store the number value as a 5. Okay, so now we are completed with 0th row and the first row. Now we will build the second row. Okay, which means second row and the first 0th column. I want to store the matrix. So this is how you need to create a two-dimensional array. Okay, where you have the rows and the columns. Okay, this is how we need to create an array. Okay, second row and the 0th column. So in this I want to store the fifth value as a 5. Now here in the second row in the first column, okay, I want to store the value as a 6. Okay, same the matrix of in the second row in the second column. The second row in the second column, what I need to do? I want to store the value as a sum. Okay, now we are successfully created in a 3 by 3 matrix, which means in a two-dimensional array. In a two-dimensional array. So when you want to access the two-dimension array, we need to use the for loop. Okay, in the previous way, we use only single for loop, but here we need to use, see, imagine, first we will access this array. Okay, so but to access this array, when you are trying to complete this array, you need to access through all the three columns. Okay, see, at the first row, at first 0th row, you need to access all the three columns, right? So for the columns also we need to write another loop. So when you are accessing 2D arrays, we need to write a for loop inside and a for loop. Again, we need to write in a two for loops. So okay, here what I will do here, let me create one for loop, integer I equal to 0. Okay, integer I equal to 0. So basically this is a 3 by 3 matrix. I am just giving I less than 3. Okay, I less than 3 and I plus plus. So now when I try to print it out like this, okay, system dot out dot print ln of system dot out dot print ln of, okay, matrix, okay, matrix of I, if I given like this, okay, if I given like this, what will be the output? Let me remove this and Java application. See what it's giving. It's giving me the object of that matrix. It's not giving entire. Okay, so why, when you want to access an element in the 2D array, when you want to access an element in the 2D array, we have the two indexes to identify. By using the two indexes, we can identify that matrix. So in this, see, imagine I'm starting from integer I equal to 0. So this is the outer loop will, this outer loop will iterate through the rows. Okay, it will iterate through the rows but not the columns. So for the columns I will write another loop here. So for integer j equal to 0, okay, for j equal to 0, j less than 3, j less than 3, sorry, here I need to give the j, right? So j less than 3 and the j plus plus. Now here what it will do, here I have the value as a I equal to 0. Okay, here I have the value as a I equal to 0. Now it will come into this loop. Okay, now here what will we do, here the j will become the 0. Okay, we are initializing j equal to 0, right? So here it will iterating through the j equal to 0. Okay, it will iterating through the j equal to 0. Now it will enter into this loop, system dot out dot println. Now here when I access with matrix of I and matrix of j, okay, matrix of I and matrix of j, now what it will be the output we will see. Okay, so imagine here the I is a 0. So the matrix of 0 and the matrix of 0, j also 0, right? So what is the matrix of 0 and 0? It will be the output of is a 1. Okay, let me run this Java application. Okay, so when system dot out dot print ln, it's giving like this. What if I does I saving this? Okay, let me run this again. Java application. See here it giving matrix. Okay, now it's giving the matrix of 1 2 3, but it's giving in only single line. Okay, so you want that in the different line, right? So when after completion of the loop, after completion of the column, you have to give the system symbol. So one system dot out dot print ln. So one empty printout to create a new column. Okay, to create a new column. So imagine, let me give this as, don't give everything like this, let me give only the space after one element. Okay, here see what what is happening in the for loop is when I equal to 0, it will check the condition I is less than 3 or not. Okay, so then it will enter into this loop. Then it will enter into this loop. Then what it will do, it will initialize the j value as a 0. Okay, so it will check the condition. Okay, j is less than 3 or not. Okay, 3 is greater than 0. So it will print it out this system.order println matrix of I and matrix of j. What will be the output? Which is 1. Okay, which is 1. We have initialized that. Now it will check this condition again. Okay, what it will happen now? J plus 1, right? So inside loop only it will iterate for the 0. Now what will happen? The j will become 1 now. Okay, the j1 is less than or less than 3, right? So now what will happen? The I is still 0, but j became 1. Okay, means 0 and 1. So for the matrix 0 and 1, what will be the output? Here the output will be 2. Okay, here I given space, right? 1 space and 2 and space. 2 and the space. Now after printing this again, what will it do? The j will become update the value, which means 2. So 2 is less than or 3 or not? Okay, it's less than 3. Then what it will print? So now j became 2, right? So but I is the 0 only. 0 and the 2. 0 and 2, what will be the value? 3. Okay, 3. Now what happened? It will increment the value and it will become 4. It will become 3. Now here it will check the condition. 3 less than 3? No. Then what it will do? It will print it out this one. Okay, now after completion of this, it will print it out, which means it will come to the next line. Then it will go here and will update the I value. Okay, it will update the value, which now I becomes 1. Okay, I becomes 1. Now here it will check the condition and it's true. Now here it will go again and again it will initialize a value to the 0. It will not the previous values as a 3. It will again initialize a value. So it becomes 0. Now I value become 1 and j value becomes 0, which means 1 and the 0. Matrix of y 1 and 0, what the output will be 3. Okay, so this is in the next line. Okay, 3. So just like that, it will print it all the elements like this. Okay, so we will see this. Just dry run the code. Okay, you will know what happened. See, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so how it's happening? It's happening for the inner loop. So the inner loop is for the columns. So imagine this loop is for the columns. Okay, inner loop for the columns, and the outer loop is for the, this is outer loop, right? So outer loop for the rows. Okay, outer loop for the rows. So for the 0th row, we need to iterate through all the columns, right? So for that again I initialize one for loop until the columns. Okay, till the columns I am printing all the row elements, all the row elements in the all the columns. Okay, so for the 0th row I'm printing all the column elements. After completion of the 0th row columns elements, again I am incrementing the row, then again I am initializing the inner loop value. Okay, so which means here now the j value again becomes 0. Okay, then it will print it out. Okay, after printing every column again it will become 3. Okay, it will become condition false. Again here it will go and it will increment the value as a 2. Now again it will come 0. Okay, now our value will be the 2 and j value is the 0. So matrix of 2 and the 0 becomes 5. Okay, 2 and 0 become 5. Okay, now it will print it out here, which means 5, and it will increment the value to the 1. Now 2, I value is a 2 and j value is a 1, which means 2 comma 1. What is the matrix of 2 comma 1? Is a 6. Okay, is a 6. Now here it will become the 2. Okay, it will check the condition, it will true, and the I value 2 and the j value 2, which means 2, 2, which means a 7. Here the I value, now it will print the 7 value. Now what will we do? It will now, the I value, j value becomes 3. Okay, j value becomes 3. Now this condition is false. Okay, now it will go to the next line and again it will go and it will increment the I value, which means 3. Okay, now this condition also fails, then it will stop execution of the code and it will show you the output as a 1 2 3 4 5 5 6 7 as an output. Okay, so this is how we need to create a 2D element, and we can access the 2D element like that. Okay, so we can access and you can grow on a 2D element like this. Okay, so if you didn't get this, okay, if you didn't get this, you just let me know through the chat box. Okay, let me explain this again. Okay, if you didn't get that, if you are okay with that, okay, this is about the today's concept. So basically, the 2D array is nothing but an array. Okay, it's an array inside another array. It's actually an array of an arrays. Okay, so matrix is itself an array. Okay, it's contained. See here, here we are containing one element. Okay, so inside another matrix. Okay, so that is nothing but an array containing its array elements. Okay, so these are the key points in what are the key points we can access in the 2D are by using the two indexes we can access and use it when like the data is stored in the rows and columns, and each row can even have a different lengths. Okay, so we will see in the next class about that. Now this is about the 2D arrays. And what about the JSP now? Okay, let me show you the installations for the JSP. Okay, so to install the SQL in your JSP, okay, go to the Google and download the SQL Yoke community first. Okay, or MySQL Server 8.4. Okay, 8.4, this is the best one. 8.4 download. Okay, 8.4. See here we have MySQL community server 8.4.6. So here you go there and here download your system. Okay, installer or zip, whatever you want, you download that. Okay, after downloading, you will go through the small installation process. There you need to select the there you need to give the root and select the server computer and all those things. Okay, this is a basic installation process. If not, I will share you the video of that SQL with you. Okay, so you need to go to this here, my SQL community downloads. Okay, so let me share this link with in the chat box. Okay, so I will share this. Okay, so go to this link and download 8.4.6. Okay, so download any zip file, maybe download the zip file itself or the installer also, it's okay. And I will share you the video of the MySQL in the group. Okay, download that one. And after completion of MySQL installation in your system, okay, you need to download SQL Yoke community. Okay, SQL Yoke latest version is there, right? So here the first GitHub link we have, right? GitHub's link. So download the 13.1 edition. Okay, SQL Yoke. So let me copy this also. Copy link address and let me share it to you. So download this one. So this is a basic SQL Yoke community is a basic one. So after installation of the SQL Yoke community, you need to connect with the MySQL. So whatever the password you have given in the place of MySQL, okay, MySQL 8.4 installation, you need to connect with that here. Okay, I will share the two installation videos with you in the group. Then you need to install both of that. Then we will discuss about all the like all the CRUD operations of the database, how we insert, how we retrieve. Okay, or already I have completed the insertion of the data into the database, but again I will, after installation all these software tools, we will again discuss about that. Okay, so till now if you have any doubts regarding any installations or today's class or anything, you can ping me or in the chat box, or you can ping me in the group. Okay, you can ping me in the WhatsApp. Okay, wherever you want. If you have any doubts, you can unmute yourself, you can ask me. Okay, and the tomorrow's class we'll discuss about the multi-dimensional. Okay, we call it as a jagged arrays, specify like we have a different type of an a 2D array also. So where in the row itself you want to store another element, that's a jagged row, but I think we don't require that one. Okay, basically we use one dimension, two dimensions in the array. But tomorrow's class we will discuss about the problems on the one dimension and the two dimensional arrays. I will show some examples on the one dimension and two dimensions, and after that I will share the software installations videos in the group. Then we will discuss about the JSP, okay, in the tomorrow's class. And that's it, today's class. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Okay, guys, thank you. Then, if you didn't have any doubts, you can drop off from the class. And thank you.